Hey guys, this is Rick coming at you with Weed to No Basis, the podcast for all things cannabis business related. Are you an entrepreneur? Have something you wanted to create, something you wanted to bring to life in the cannabis industry? Maybe you've always wanted to partake in one of the biggest industries in modern day history. This is the podcast to listen to. Hey guys, this is Rick, and we're back again for another episode of Weed to No Basis. And remember guys, if you're watching this, it's because you two are on a weed to no basis. Now, I like to say this often, guys, and I'll say it over and over. I'm the master, the king, the prince of repetition, because when we repeat things or hear things enough, it becomes ingrained. And this goes without saying, but here in my living room. This is our living room here in downtown San Antonio, Texas. And you know, it's funny, but before we started recording today, Chris, the producer, is right behind the camera, we were talking about our locations. We were talking about the different places we record in, because sometimes we have options to be in studios. We've recorded kind of off the cuff. We've recorded here in our building. We live in an apartment complex in downtown. We go downstairs with a very nice room. We reserve it. But we were just talking beforehand, before like today, these recordings, and we were saying how it's kind of cool to be in the living room. I mean, that's honestly, that's part of who we are. In a different episode, guys, we talked about culture. I talked about John Warlow in a book called Built to Sell, and how culture is an absolute component of your business, and especially that one should be the same on camera or off camera, literally and figuratively. And as we were talking about, you know, filming here in our living room, I realized that this is literally who we are. Like, you're in our house. We're not in a made-up studio. This is where I live. Like, my wife sits here and we watch TV at night. And I just felt compelled to share that. Don't know why, just because of random conversation. But today I want to talk about something that has to do with our growth as entrepreneurs, as cannabis entrepreneurs who are human. Okay, so I know that's a lot of layers to think about, but I want to break a concept down, and it's something I learned a while back. And as I thought about a lot of the folks who I've spoken to, and I say this with love and respect, you know, I put my Calendly link out there. People book calls, and as entrepreneurs especially, and especially now in this whole green wave, we want to just charge right in. We want to charge right in and become the leader overnight. We want to be the expert in 24 hours or less. We want to have the product or the service that nobody's ever seen and be the biggest, baddest in 7 days flat. And I love that. I got to say, I love that vim, the vigor and energy, but it's often misplaced. And I'm going to give you a tool today. I'm going to give you a tool, and it's not I didn't create this. This was actually, I'm going to look at my notes. This was created by Noel Burch. This is called the 4 Stages of Competence. And it was created by Noel Burch back in the 70s. And this is not going to be a psychology talk, first of all. This is going to be of how we as humans who are now dipping our feet or diving into the cannabis entrepreneur space, how we go through these levels of competence in an authentic way, and not necessarily with all the hustle and grind, let me create my business and launch it and become a multimillionaire overnight methodology that always fails. So there are 4 stages of competence, guys. And again, this is not something I created. This is a tool that I regularly use with our mastermind groups, that I have used with groups and companies and boards of directors outside of the cannabis and inside of the cannabis industry to help them better grasp where they're at on their growth journey. Okay? So you can apply this in 2 ways. One, as a human being. This is how I learn, how I grow, how I flourish as a human. You can also apply it as an entrepreneur in the cannabis space. This is how I start, how I learn, how I grow, how I scale my company. You can, in the best world, guys, is combine them too. So the first level of competence, guys, is called unconscious incompetence. I'm going to tell you what they are real quick, guys. And this is not memorized, okay? So I'm going to be clear. Like, when I do these presentations, we use flip charts and all that, so real raw. I didn't memorize this, but I just want to make sure I get these right. So the first stage is called unconscious incompetence. We're going to go back to that. Second stage is called conscious incompetence. Third stage is called conscious competence, okay? And fourth stage is called unconscious competence. Now let me break down what that means. First stage, unconscious incompetence. I don't know what I don't know. And here's how I want this to be relevant to you, as you're likely over 18 or over 21. You probably at this point have a driver's license, right? And if you don't, guys, just go with the story. Here's what stage one means. Remember the first time or the moment where your parents said, we're going to teach you how to drive, little Chris, or Ricky, you're going to learn how to drive, or my daughter Caitlin, we're going to teach you how to drive, and you almost shit your pants. I mean, seriously, guys, remember? And I know it's exciting. It's an exciting time. Like, you can't wait. You can't wait to learn how to drive. Like, you're excited, you're pumped, you want to jump right in. But here's the thing. Unconscious incompetence means I don't know what I don't know. There's a wheel, there's a seat, but suddenly I'm aware of 2 pedals, maybe 3 if it's a stick shift. Now there's this little thing on the side, and it's this way if I turn left, this way right. What does this one do? That's for the lights. Turn it this way, flip it. And guys, this is just your mom's car. Get into your dad's car, and it's all different. There's a sunroof. There's a button there. There's this. Guys, that is stage one. Unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. Now I want you to overlay that statement onto being an entrepreneur in the cannabis industry. A lot of times, guys, and I was there, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know about the legalities. I don't know about the fiduciary responsibilities. I don't know about the art of the start. I don't know how to strategize, how to think about strategy, how to execute, how to hire, how to fire. You see what I'm saying, guys? It gets crazy. That's where we all start. Whether you're starting a company or you're driving a car. Remember the first time you drove a car. We were unconsciously incompetent. We flat out didn't know what we didn't know. Tracking? But here's the thing. We get into the car, right? And your parents are there, or your boyfriend, or your girlfriend, or whatever, or grandpa or grandma. And suddenly it becomes, I now know what I don't know. You feel me? Maybe you drive a few times. Maybe you go to this big open parking lot and you practice and you turn the wheel and you turn back and you play with the gas in a responsible way because grandpa's there with you, or dad, or mom. But suddenly you are acutely you're aware of what you don't know. You start to play with the little blinker thing and you realize, oh, that's left. I want to turn right. And then your dad or your mom might say, now stop the car and look both ways. You start to realize the things you have to do to operate a vehicle. Make sense? Stage 2 is we're consciously incompetent. We begin to understand that we don't know a lot of things about how to operate this vehicle. Now extrapolate that onto your business. You see, because we go charging out of the gate. I have a new tincture idea. I have a new web development for cannabis companies idea. I have a new media company like Weed to No Basis idea. And we don't just jump in the car and roar off. Suddenly we become aware of all the things we don't know. I don't know where to start. I don't know who to call. I don't know what book to read. I don't know if I should have an LLC or an S-Corp or if I should be a sole proprietor. You see what I mean? Suddenly we're aware of things that we didn't know we had to know in stage 1. Now we're aware of all the things we have to know. But here's the trick, guys. Here's the worst part is we still can't drive a car. You feel me? You see, at this stage in our development as an entrepreneur, we may not be quite ready to pull the trigger and launch. And that's okay. Because, guys, this is the reality. This is why the 1970s model of conscious competence by Noel Burch makes so much sense, not only to us as humans, but us as cannabis entrepreneurs. Because now, as a cannabis entrepreneur, we are faced with a lot more unknowns than simply a car. As a cannabis entrepreneur, guys, it's not a matter of stick shift or automatic, a truck or a car. It's a matter of state by state, city by city, municipality over municipality, DA to DA, CBD, THC. This is why this model is so critically more, does that make sense? So much more critically important than simply driving a car. Suddenly driving a car seems like an easy thing, right? Let's talk about stage 3. Stage 3, guys, is conscious competence. So now you're in the car and maybe your dad or your mom or your big brother says, let's go drive now onto Main Street. Okay, so you've practiced in the parking lot. Okay, so stage one, you don't know what you don't know. You don't even know where the dam put the keys in. You don't know if it goes on the right side or left side, and some cars have push button. Stage two, you're learning. You're suddenly aware of the things you're supposed to know, and you're still learning and growing. Gotcha? Got me so far? Stage three is now you understand these things, and it's this: I grow and know, and it starts to show. So let me put that in real terms. I grow and know, and it starts to show is stage three. So you're now leaving the parking lot, and you've been practicing with your older brother or with your dad, whatever. And your brother, let's go with the brother. Your big brother now says, turn right when you get to the stop sign. So you get to the stop sign because now you know what that big red diagonal thing means. You stop. Guys, and I'm not being facetious, this is literal. And you turn your blinker on and you look and you see that it's blinking to the right. So you're like, you're good. You're starting to learn. And then he says, look both ways. And you look both ways, and he says, now look again for people walking as well as traffic. And you do that, and you're like, oh my God, I got to look out for people and traffic. And then you turn right. I grow and know, and it starts to show. Because now you're going to merge onto a 40 mile an hour, let's say just a street, and you're going 10 miles an hour. You see what I mean? I grow and know, and it starts to show. You see, your brother's going to be there, pick up the speed, give it a little gas, but you're still scared shitless. You made it through stage one. You made it through stage two. Now you're actually operating something and you're growing and knowing, but it's still showing. Now I want you to think about the life of an entrepreneur, guys, because now you've figured out some things. Now you understand, I don't need an LLC. I'm actually going to start a Delaware C Corp because we're going to be raising capital 3 years down the road. You understand that I understand some of the legalities of selling tinctures online, so I'm going to use this company and not this one, but I asked about this one. See, you're growing and knowing and starting to show. You still have a lot of questions, but you're better. Make sense? We're not driving a car, we're driving our company. Arguably, driving a company could be a lot more detrimental to your health if that crashes and burns than a car. Now, think about that statement for a second, guys. We went through all of these stages to learn how to drive a car. A lot of entrepreneurs won't even take this time or this simple model to think about driving their business. And guys, we're only in stage three. Stage three. So let's go to stage four, unconscious competence. Think about those two words, unconscious competence. Here's how to think about this when you really understand how to operate a vehicle, a literal car. Have you ever been to, let's say, to work and home, or to the grocery store, or to the soccer field, whatever, and you don't even think about it? You just get into your car, the kids hop in, they throw the balls in the trunk, they jump in, and before you know it, you're in your garage or your driveway. You know what I'm saying, guys? That's what you call unconscious competence. You do it automatically because it's so ingrained. Remember I said that? I'm repetitive to ingrain things. Guys, we learned that as we drove. We learned that when we learned to drive. We ingrained habits. They're repetitive, they're repetition. Unconscious competence is that moment where you get into your car at work, you turn your radio on, you have a cup of coffee in your cup holder, you drive home, and before you know it, you're in your driveway. I know a lot of you probably haven't thought of it in those terms, but think about it now. That's what you call unconscious competence. Now I want you to overlay that onto being a business owner, a CEO, an entrepreneur, somebody who's responsible to pay other people, somebody who's responsible to put food on the table, somebody who's responsible maybe to someday teach your kids how to drive. And let me ask you this question. Have you thought about your business in these terms? Of taking these steps, step by step by step. See, because unless you're a literal F1 race car driver, Indy car driver, building a business is not a sprint. Building a business is going through certain stages of development, cognitive, entrepreneurial, or otherwise, guys, and it's understanding and grasping those, just like driving a car. So the final question I'm going to ask you as we begin to wrap this up, guys, is this. Maybe not so much a question, but a statement. Have you ever known anybody to hop into a car for the very first time and speed down the road like Mario Andretti? Never happens. It's never happened. Not to my knowledge, never happens. You go through these stages. You learn, you grow, you trust, and finally you become unconsciously competent. Guys, and I guarantee you, I promise you, the same thing applies for building your company, especially in the cannabis space, guys. In fact, I would even submit to you that understanding these stages and mastering them every step of the way through your development as an entrepreneur in a very controversial counterculture industry is critical. Because crashing and burning in your company could be a lot worse than wrecking a car. Consider that, guys. Think about that. So that was today, guys. The final stage, I got to say, guys, that the unconscious competent stage, stage 4, with this model, and again, this is a proven psychological, psychiatric, or let me read it. I'm getting my psych. From Noel Burch. Guys, if you want to look it up, Noel Burch. This is Gordon Training International, the 4 stages of competence. These are transformational skills, guys, and things that we all go through. And all I did was this, nothing fancy. I just wanted you to think about these as a startup entrepreneur, as a scaling entrepreneur, as a cannabis entrepreneur, guys, and think about what stage you're in. The catchphrase for stage 4 of unconscious competence is, I simply go because of what I know. And that happens as an entrepreneur. You just start to do things. You know who to tap, you know who to call, you know what to do. You don't have all the answers, but you simply go because of what you know. You've amassed enough knowledge and experience to begin to make the right and proper decisions to build your business. So as we begin to wrap this up, guys, I want you to do a few things. First of all is I want you to really think about what you just heard. And if you looked up, maybe you Googled the website where Noel Burch is and read something and you have a question, drop it down here. I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist, but we've been a pretty successful entrepreneurial duo, my wife and I. We've done some things and we can certainly answer some questions, so drop them down there. Put a question. And if you're kind of curious, not quite sure where you're at on your journey, then really drop a question, ask, because that's part of your conscious growth, guys, is asking. Think about it. Questions, comments, drop them down below, guys. Thank you for tuning in today. Thanks for dropping into our living room. Remember, if you're watching this, it's because you too are on a weed to know basis. Have an awesome day. Peace.